Well, thank you for joining us here on this Wednesday. And today I'd like to encourage all of us by exhorting us to have the right kind of spirit. If our spirit's out of whack, I don't care if there's good news in our country or international world, or if there's bad news, we're just not going to see things like we should. We're not going to be able to spiritually discern and process what we should. And one of those areas that really does skew our spirit is a wrong perspective on somebody that we know. A verse that I have on a desk where I do some of my exercises is this verse, chapter 3 of Titus, verse 2. To speak evil of no man, to be no brawlers but gentle, showing all meekness unto all men. Just going to dwell on that first little phrase. I don't know how many times I've looked at that, speak evil of no man. And what a warning that is about saying anything negative about someone to someone who is not either part of the solution or part of the problem. It's not led by the Spirit. It isn't biblical. And when you find yourself having a wrong attitude towards someone, saying something you shouldn't say, it was not appropriate to someone that doesn't need to hear, there's a cloud that comes over your heart. There is an immediate withdrawal of the presence of the Lord in its manifestation and the light of his countenance. For he loves the person we just talked about as much as he loves us. And so it's very important for us to realize that if we're going to keep that wonderful attitude that God will give us when we're walking with him, one thing we've got to guard all the time is speaking evil. We find in Ephesians chapter 4 that we're not to have the wrong attitude in our heart, because that will grieve the Spirit of God. And my friends, without the Spirit of God, we just cannot function as we ought. We cannot think right. And some of the simplest negative things can just bowl us over if our attitude isn't right towards somebody else. And so I want to encourage you today to make this a rule of your life, to not speak evil of anyone, and get it right if you do. And put a guard upon your lips, which is really a guard upon your heart. Make sure that you have a right attitude toward everyone, that you have a spirit of forgiveness. Well, you may have some real wrongs that have occurred to you, but you are to have the love of God toward those people. And I promise you, if that is how you are operating spiritually by the power of the Holy Spirit, it will change your attitude toward everything. I promise you, you'll live with a spirit of encouragement. But you let that wrong attitude especially go into verbal action, you lose the brightness of God's working in your life. So today, let's all just be encouraged in our own soul that we need to give a good report. We need to be kind and loving. If we need to deal with things, we need to do it biblically. And if we do that, God will meet our needs, and God will lift us up so that we can be used of him.